Hey folks, look, episode 2, right here, right now, the Picked It Clean podcast. I'm your host, Trellis Williams, alongside Dima Mixon. And listen, we're about to get into a little bit of preseason rankings from our point of view of class by class in the MHSAA here on the Picked It Clean podcast. This is Picked It Clean. Welcome to the Picked It Clean podcast. Your host, Charles Williams, alongside Dima Mixon. We're glad that you're with us here today. Again, I want to remind you, hit the subscribe button to the TSJW Network YouTube channel. Also, follow us on Facebook. Picked It Clean podcast on Facebook. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Dima, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good, yeah, and just ready for it to get a little bit hotter outside. That'd be nice. I've been it's been pretty chilly recently, so I've had to bring a few sweaters and stuff. So
right. I was wearing my big coat this morning, so yeah, it's tough times in Mississippi when you just can't catch a break. You can't get any sun, can't get any. Another thing that I wish that we had more of, that I don't think we have enough of, is humidity.
Yeah. I don't know. We're so close to the ocean. You feel like you get something.
I know. It's unbelievable. Folks, we appreciate our sponsor, Austin Graham, with Farm Bureau Insurance. Austin Graham's a hometown Mississippi guy, homegrown Mississippi guy, who, like us, has a passion for Mississippi sports. He's active in the Mississippi sports community and understands the people and families that make the state special. Whether you're looking for coverage for your home, auto, life, anything that matters most to your family insurance-wise, Austin Graham with Farm Bureau Insurance is there to help you out. Call Austin Graham today, 601-892-5111. 601-892-5111. That's Austin Graham. And we're going to get through some rankings today. Listen, Austin will be coming on the show eventually because he's got his opinions on the high school sports scene. So we're looking forward to that. But I'll tell you this, he is a Wesson guy. And Wesson is in 2A. I actually was able to talk with Wesson, their coach, and a couple of their players yesterday at our media day, Picked It Clean Media Day for the Capital Region. Really enjoyed that as well. So, Dima, we're kind of going to go ahead and we're going to go 1A to 7A. We're just going to go all the way down the list. And here's the thing. I made this list, so don't blame Dima for it, because what you're going to see is that Dima's going to have some disagreements, I'm sure. We're going to see what Dima thinks. He might be shocked. He might be appalled at some of my picks on my list, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Let's start off with 1A, okay?
Yeah.
I got to start off, we're going to go 5-1. Number 5, I've got Biggersville. So Biggersville had Mr. 1A last year, their quarterback. He is gone this year.
Yes.
Biggersville's always pretty good. So that's why I have him in the top 5, but I don't think that this would quite be the year. So that's my number 5. Number 4, I got Calhoun City. Now, Calhoun City is the team that won it last year. They were able to beat Simmons in the championship game, kind of in a shocker, kind of in an upset fashion. Of course, with all these 1A schools, a lot of times you get a lot of turnover, and any turnover is pretty tough for a 1A school with how small these schools are, but they got a lot of good talent still on their teams. Calhoun City, I got them at number 4. Number 3, I got LaFleur County. So the thing about LaFleur County is that, man, in 1A, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, they nearly won the championship last year. But in football, they're very competitive as well. I got LaFleur County at number 3. And my top 2, got to go Taylorsville number 2. Now, Taylorsville could have been my number 1, but I got Taylorsville number 2 because you'll see why I have the number 1 team there. But Taylorsville, listen, they always play super tough competition. Like, they're a 1A school, but they're out there playing 4As and 5As in their non-region. They take losses in those games, but they're pretty competitive. And then they find themselves making that run in 1A because they're so ready for it. And then finally, Simmons. Man, Simmons undefeated until the championship game last year, and they're supposed to bring a lot of those guys back. I think Simmons, the runaway number 1 favorite heading into the season. Dima, did you have any problems with my top 5 list?
I honestly, the only change that I would have made was maybe switching your 1 and 2.
Okay.
I really like Taylorsville's squad this year. Obviously they lost to Simmons in a very close game in the semifinals of last year's playoff run. Off the top of my head, I believe that was like 12-8 or something like that.
Yes,
the final
it
score
was.
of the game, and so which was so I really like Taylorsville. I think they have the chance to kind of rewrite the wrong there, and obviously they were home field advantage. 66-0 in the first game. I just pulled up the bracket and looking at it, but and like you said, they have a lot of pieces back. I like Simmons, and they're always going to be there, and it really always feels like it's either Simmons or Taylorsville, to represent
The South.
that side in the South in the championship game. So I like both those picks, but Taylorsville to me, I think they're going to beat Simmons this year, and I think they're the favorite in my head, but. I certainly think you're not wrong by talking about LaFleur County. Obviously we know what the history is there, and then obviously Calhoun City, who won it last year, the Wildcats, which is so funny because their emblem is like the Clemson Tiger emblem,
right?
And they call themselves Wildcats, so it always confuses me. But yeah, then Biggersville, of course, like they're always, like you said, they're always in there, they're always doing something. They were a 1 seed for a reason last year, and I don't see anything changing there. But you're right. I mean, the 1As the turnover in these schools is so drastic now, that it really you have these programs, that you listed out as the top 5 who, generally speaking, are always there and always in contention. But you could have another school such as Faulkner or
right.
Stringer. I don't know. All these other schools that seem to always be there as well. Those 1A schools that could just pop up and have a good team and a really strong team and win some games in the playoffs, and then you're off to the races.
Right, and then another thing, we saw a big shift in 1A recently because we saw Velma Jackson be in the state championship game in 1A. We saw Baldwin be in the state championship game. I'm pretty sure it was Velma Jackson, Baldwin in the state championship game in 2024. Well, then now both those schools are 2A now. And so you see a lot of shifts in that too with the 1A, which is very interesting there. But yes, we both have.
Don't forget about Nanawaya,
right, Nanawaya, yeah, oh yeah, and see,
I always pronounce that first name wrong, but Nanawaya. I mean, that team's always good, man, and they lost to Simmons, of course, in the playoffs, and that was a close game too. And these games are always close. There's not a lot of blowouts unless you're in that first round, because basically everybody gets a ticket to the playoffs, and then you have a team who really shouldn't be in the playoffs getting blown out by a really good 1A school. But once you get to these second and third rounds, I mean, all these games are really close, really competitive, and a lot of these teams can jump up. But I really don't have a problem with your top 5. I like Taylorsville as number 1 overall for me.
Interesting. So Dima's got Taylorsville as the preseason number 1 coming in for 1A. I've got Simmons. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Moving on to 2A, and so 2A, has been. Well, let me just go through my list because it's about to just kind of give it away. But so number 5, I got Northside. It's been a team that very good team. Last year they were in the North and. I think they had a disappointing finish. They wanted to go further than they did, but Northside, very good team. They were undefeated for a while. I think they went 7-0 starting off last year. Then you get to number 4, Mize. Mize was a pretty surprising team last year. They knocked off Wesson, who was undefeated, and then they were able to make it to the South State Championship, which Heidelberg won relatively convincingly, but Mize did show pretty well last year, making it to South State, and they're supposed to bring a lot of guys back. So Mize might even be upset with me having them as low as 4, but I got them at number 4. Number 3, I've got the defending champion, East Webster. Now, they do keep their quarterback, but they are losing some guys, and I also think they found a little lightning in the bottle there, okay? I do have them as my North Half champions, though. I have them as North Half champions going into the season. But I have them at number 3. Still top 3, but I don't have them in my top 2. Number 2, I got Wesson. And the thing is with Wesson, and I know I got Austin in my ear and stuff. However, I also was able to talk with Coach Jeremy Loy yesterday, as well as some of their players. They're bringing almost every meaningful offensive player back, and then adding a defensive lineman who's like a 3-star defensive lineman, adding that to their line. And this is 2A. Last year they were 10-0 before losing to Mize by 2 points. And so I think that they'll learn from that. And my concern with Weston though is their schedule. Their schedule is not super challenging early on to help them be ready for those later games, and I think that got them last year. But we'll see what happens. But I got Weston at number 2. But number 1, I got Heidelberg. Heidelberg bringing back Chase Kraft, that quarterback. You're talking about a really good player to bring back. Put up big numbers. Heidelberg got upset in the championship game, but it'd be hard-pressed, D-Man. I don't know what you think about this, but I still think Heidelberg was the best 2A team last year. I think they just lost in the championship game.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that, and I would 100% put them at number 1 this year. I mean, when you look at their results in the playoffs, and I'm just pulling up last year's bracket just for reference, and then we can look back at it. But listen to these results. All right, first round against Newton, Heidelberg 78, Newton 6. Second round, Heidelberg 56, North Forest 0. Third round, Heidelberg 64, Clarksdale 14, and then in the semifinals, Heidelberg 46, Mize 14. So this is a team that was a wagon all the way up into the championship game, which is right where they did get upset, in Starkville in the championship game, but absolutely should be considered as the favorite to win this year with their quarterback back, with a lot of that team back. I mean, that's not. I don't care how good you are. Beating a team 78-6 in any classification shows how dominant that team was last year and could be again this year. And we'll see what happens. As for your other ones, I actually agreed with most of your lists. I really like Weston. Like you said, they kind of surprised some people last season. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Mize. They didn't surprise anybody. They were undefeated all the way up until Mize beat them. But yeah, no, I like that. East Webster, I know they're defending champions, but like you said, a little upset there. So, and Mize does return a lot. And like you said, they might get mad for putting them down at 4. So I think 3 and 4 is probably interchangeable to me with East Webster and Mize. Probably interchangeable. I mean, I could see that kind of going either way. And then, of course, Northside, with the history there and what they're always able to do every single season at number 5. A team to watch, though, and it's a team that is in my district. So I don't show favoritism to my district, just so everybody knows. Like, I just cover them, but I just know.
But you know more than the average person about it, though. That's the thing.
Sure, exactly. So North Forest, the Eagles.
Okay.
They won. They hosted a playoff game for the first time in 15 years or whatever it was, and beat Lloyd Star, and then they ran into Heidelberg on the road and obviously got blown out. But that's a North Forest team that's and a program that's very much improving from what they've been in the past. First and foremost, they returned 16 starters from that team a year ago, which is always good. Anytime you return 16 starters, that's just fantastic. But they also added a few players from various leagues, and head coach there over at North Forest, Todd Lowry. I was talking with him, and he was telling me that this is probably the hardest, and he's been there for several years now. He said this is probably the hardest work he's seen his players put in over the offseason, just because of what they were able to accomplish finally in the playoffs and finally over as far as a season-long endeavor. So watch out for the Eagles this year. I mean, I'm not saying they should be listed in the top 5 in 2A. I'm not going that far, obviously, but I think they could make some noise and maybe win a playoff game or two and, challenge some of these higher upper teams. And, it's a team with a lot returning, a lot of core players returning, and a team that should be even improved from what they did a season ago.
Yeah, no, so that'd be a team to watch. The Demons got North Forest as a team to watch. Another team that I would say to watch, but they dropped out of the top 5 from what they would have been going into last year, is Kemper County. Kemper County, still going to be a good team, still going to be a very competitive team, but they lost Yates, their running back, who's headed to Ole Miss, and that's a big deal. That's a big deal, losing a star running back like that, especially at the 2A level. But that's a team that would be outside the top 5, a team to watch out for there in 2A. All right, look, Damon, we're going to get on over to 3A. Now, 3A is always pretty wide open. Like every year you're like, 3A, I don't know. I don't really know where we're going with 3A, but you have some major players. Number 5, I got Choctaw County. Now, Choctaw County won the 3A state championship 2 years ago in that game, that overtime game with Camario Taylor, beating Camario Taylor with Noxubee County. And And so, so Choctaw County, always a good team, but I got them at number 5. Seminary, I got at number 4. Now, Dima, this is the one where I think I might shock some people. I got Seminary at number 4. So Seminary played, Raleigh won it last year, and Seminary played Raleigh really close late in the season. Like in a I think it was like 28-24 or something. And Seminary was up late. Was that?
27-14.
It was 27-14, really? Okay. But I thought Seminary was up at one point, though. Weren't they up late?
I think it was 20-14, and then, Raleigh kind of scored late.
I got you. Okay.
They kind of just pulled away, but that was certainly a close game. Like, you're right.
Okay. Okay, let me be clear. That's not the only reason why I think Seminary should be number 4. They also are bringing back a quarterback who put up monster numbers last year.
Yeah.
And they're bringing him back. I like Seminary. I think Seminary is going to surprise some people. I got them at number 4. Number 3, I got the defending champions, Raleigh. Okay, I think Raleigh lost some guys. They'll still be pretty good. Number 3, the Raleigh people are not going to like that I have them at number 3. They're going to think that's pretty low. However, I got them at number 3. Still think they're going to be good. Winona at number 2. And Winona is bringing in a lot. They're bringing back a lot. They're bringing in some more, as I hear. Winona had a really good season last year, too. And now, Winona, those teams, they play in a really tough – like, that region's insane. So, there are a lot of losses that you can have there against really good teams. So I have Winona at number 2. And then, of course, at number 1, I have Noxubee County. I think Noxubee County, I got them at number 1 heading into this year. I think that, they're a team that every year they're like right there on the cusp. And they're just not getting it done in that championship game. They're not getting it done there at the end. But I've got them as my number 1 team going into the season. Dima, what do you think about this top 5 list?
I think you are missing a team that I personally think is the dark horse to win 3A this year.
Okay.
And again, I'm going local team, but that's just because I know how good this team is going to be, and that's PCS.
PCS.
And PCS,
okay. Yeah.
Presbyterian Christian, they took Raleigh to the wire last year in the second round.
Yeah.
And they returned probably the best quarterback in 3A, in my opinion, and Smith Stringer.
Right.
Committed to Wake Forest, threw for almost 3,000 yards a season ago. Mm-hmm. This is a team that gets most of their harder games at home, which means they should win their division more than likely and host a playoff game, maybe even get a 1 seed and host 2. This team should be in the top 5 just with what they return. Coach Richard Chambliss, really high on his team this year. So I like PCS over probably Seminary for sure. I don't know about Choctaw County, but so that would be my only. I just really like PCS this year. I think they're going to make some noise. And they're already. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying they're already making noise in the MHSA. They just won the baseball championship in 3A, had a good basketball team as well. So I think this is the year for the Bobcats to make some noise in football. I don't think they're going to win it because I think your top 3 is just really strong between Noxubee County, Winona, Raleigh. I mean, those 3 teams are just always good. But I think they might be the 4th or 5th best team in 3A, just with their quarterback returning in the weapons that he has. I mean, anytime you return a quarterback who threw for almost 3,000 yards in 3A, I mean, that's pretty incredible. So
that is.
So we'll see what happens there. And then like you said, I mean, Noxubee County, of course, should be number 1. They return a lot. They're always good. Winona, we know what they're able to do. And then Raleigh was such a wagon last year. Just tough nose, run the football team always, at Raleigh. And then, Seminary, Choctaw County. I think Seminary had a good run last year, and they do return a lot. I don't probably see them getting back to the semifinals, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like the list. I mean, again, some of these, in 1 and 2 and 3A, some of these are kind of just interchangeable. It's just a lot of these teams are pretty equal outside of probably your top 3.
And again, this is preseason, and just like you said last time, Dima, in the preseason, if we don't talk preseason stuff, we can't have a show right now because the season hasn't really gotten rolling yet. However, as the season goes along, we're going to kind of give our opinions on where things are at that point as well. But that's 3A. All right, now 4A. Now we're getting into I can't really imagine us having too many disagreements on 4A other than the order. So let's go through 4A.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I've got Macomb. Okay, Macomb had a very good season last year. They lost to Poplarville in the playoffs, but they beat Poplarville in the regular season, and they beat Brookhaven, the 5A state championship, the 5A state champion in the regular season as well. Macomb, very talented team, and they bring back a lot of guys. And I think Macomb's going to be good. I do have them at number 5 though because 4A is just loaded. Number 4, I've got Kosciuszko. Kosciuszko very close to winning the state championship last year. They lost 6-0 to Columbia. You know, that was
a weird game that was, by the way.
Yeah, oh yeah. Super low scoring and all the like. But I will say I've got them at number 4. They do lose some guys. They were real fast last year. I don't think they're going to be above my top 3. So I got them at number 4. Number 3, I've got Columbia. Okay, so now Columbia people probably think that's pretty low, specifically for the fact that they went 15-0 last year. You know, when you go 15-0, you kind of think, I think we're doing fine. I think we should be at least top 2 in our preseason. But they lost some guys, and I think these other 2 teams are going to step up a little bit more and get right above them. But we have to remember with Columbia, yes, they were 15-0, and it was super impressive. They even beat Petal, which was really big. But they really
smoked them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But
like
I will say
35-7 or something.
Yeah. No, they beat them pretty good. My thing though is they almost lost to Newton County. They almost didn't even make it to, they almost lost immediately. And so that was really close. They were a vulnerable team. They won 6-0. But the thing is, though, is that, and maybe I'm talking myself into moving them up higher, the fact that they won those games late in the season, super impressive. It's hard to be undefeated going into the end. We saw that with West Point. You know what I mean? They couldn't finish the deal. But anyway, I got Columbia at number 3. Number 2, I got Poplarville. Poplarville, like we talked about this Dandy Dozen list earlier, and of course, call it the I think I can, I hope I can list. However, if you're on the list, you're really good. Okay, let's just be clear on that. You're not going to get on that list and not be extremely good at football. They've got 2 guys on that list. Okay, guy on the defensive side of the ball, and then their running back, Ty Keys, who has a possibility of being the all-time rushing leader in the history of the state of Mississippi if he has a season like he did last year. So you're talking about a big-time rusher. He's going to Miami. I think Poplarville's going to do. I have them winning the South going into the season. But of course, I think them and Columbia would be a really tight situation. But then number 1, I've got Louisville. Louisville bringing back a bunch of guys, and last year was a little bit of a down year. They had a couple of injuries. They have a really deep running back room. I actually was able to talk to Coach Tyrone Shorter on Wednesday. That interview will be up this week, by the way. I was up there in Louisville, and, man, they are excited. They have a lot of energy up there going into this season. They believe that they really have a good squad, and I believe it too. I got them number 1. What do you think about this one, Dima?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on all 5 of these schools. The top 3, I'd probably put Louisville at 3rd. I just like Poplarville and Columbia better.
Okay.
But I think I would have Poplarville number 1 just because of what they returned. I mean, you have 2 on the Dandy Dozen on your team, which is pretty rare for a 4A school. And then, like you said, last year they just barely lost to Columbia. I mean, that was a great game. They lost, I think, last possession of the game, or whatever it was. And I think they probably would have beaten Kosciuszko. So they probably should be defending champions if they would have beaten Columbia.
And if that would have been the case, they'd be 2-time defending champions.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why you play the games. That's why, So I like Poplarville. I like Columbia. I just know they lost a lot. So that's why I still have them below Poplarville this year. And like you said, they were still vulnerable last year, but 15-0 is certainly impressive. Louisville, I certainly think they're my favorite to come out of the North, though. There's no question about that. And I expect that they'll play the winner of Poplarville and Columbia if those 2 meet up in South State again.
Okay, so even though you have a different order if you were to pick a 4A state championship game and what it would look like today, it would be the same as mine. He'd have Louisville against Poplarville.
Yes.
That's what you'd have. Okay, gotcha. All right, well, that's interesting. Yeah, 4A, man, 4A should be, I mean, that's 4 big time, like 4 championship contenders. Because even though I, in looking at this list, I could even throw Macomb over Kosciuszko, because I think Kosciuszko's losing enough to drop down a decent amount. Even though they had a really good season last year, nearly won the state championship. But just in the respect of what they did last year, and they're still going to be a good program, I got them at number 4. All right, now looking at 5A, okay, Dima. Number 5, I've got Laurel. And Laurel, the look on your face making me think, dude, that's really low for Laurel. I got Laurel at number 5. I think, last year into the season they showed some good things. I think they made it to South State. Yes, they made it to South State against Brookhaven. They ended up losing to Brookhaven in the South State Championship. And I actually had picked them to beat Brookhaven, but they ended up losing to Brookhaven. But, Brookhaven won the state championship. But I got Laurel at number 5. But the only reason why I have them at number 5 is because I got these teams above them. This one's going to shock you at number 4 that I have above Laurel, though. I got Lanier. I got Lanier at number 4. So the thing with Lanier is it depends on health. Okay, as far as talent is concerned, man, Lanier is about as good as anyone in 5A talent-wise. Now, depth, not always the greatest with them, and last year we saw it crash and burn because of injuries. Lost 4 guys right there in the last few weeks, went from being 10-0 to ending up 10-2. So definitely we saw that with Lanier last year, so they got to stay healthy. But I got them at number 4. Number 3, I've got Holmes County Central. Holmes County is supposed to be really good this year. They're bringing back a lot of the guys from last year. They do have a little coaching change from going from Marcus Rogers to having now Alan Washington. I was able to talk to him yesterday at our media day, so you can check that out on the TSJW Network YouTube channel as well. But, there's a lot of excitement there as well. They went 10-4 last year, and they they played a real good game with West Point in the North State title game. 20-6 was the score. So, in bringing back all those guys, I like Holmes County Central, and so I got them at number 3. Number 2, I got West Point. All right, and Coach Roger Burton, who's the new head coach there, he may not be a big fan of the fact that I didn't put him at number 1, but I got him at number 2. They're losing a lot of guys, and my number 1 team is the defending state champions, and they're bringing back a lot of guys and adding more. And that is Brookhaven. Brookhaven bringing back a lot of guys. They also are adding Jordan Keys from Lloyd Star, who also has a chance of becoming the leading rusher in Mississippi history. He won't, though, because he's on Brookhaven now. So he'll have to share duties with other running backs. But he'll be on a better team and on a bigger team. I got Brookhaven number 1, have to going into the season. What do you think about this list, Dama?
Yeah, 1 and 2 are pretty obvious to me. Brookhaven and West Point, I think those two are interchangeable. West Point, obviously, last year, really great season, then just lost to a red-hot Brookhaven team.
Right.
As for Holmes County Central, I liked your analysis there. Obviously, they lost the North State Championship last season. But overall, 10-4 on the season, and they got a lot of people returning, so I like that. I like them at 3. I like them to be kind of that next group. Laurel is interesting to me because last year they weren't they started 0-6 off the top of my head.
They did.
They started 6 and then just got really hot, and then just started winning games. They smoked Purvis in that first round. I know that because I was there at that game. Then they beat Stone in the next, who was the number 1 seed in that region or in that bracket division. They beat them on the road, and then obviously got beat by Brookhaven, who ended up winning the state championship in South State. But I'm interested to see what Laurel looks like this year. What does a Laurel look like who goes throughout the entire season as one of the favorites? I think that to me is a big question for them. And, obviously they're going to have their work cut out for them. I mean, I know they got the Hattiesburg game looming. They play Oak Grove, as well. So Laurel certainly is an interesting school on this list, and I'm interested to see what they have as well. But overall, I think it's a solid top 5, and I really don't have any complaints.
Okay. Yeah, well, see, the thing is with Laurel is that I think the reason why they started 0-6 last year is just, I mean, the competition is tough in their non-region because they play. You said
and they're
Hattiesburg.
non-con.
You said Hattiesburg, Oak Grove, West Jones. They play.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they play. If I'm not mistaken, I think they was that.
I'm going to pull up their schedule.
Right. And I think they might.
Yeah, they started with West Jones, then they
Right.
played Hattiesburg, then they played Gulfport, and then then they played West Harrison, and then on the road at Oak Grove, and then Brookhaven after that. So
Insane.
That's insane. All right, so then this year, let's see. So this year they opened the season against Heidelberg. That's going to be a great game. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Then they host West Jones. They go on the road to Hattiesburg. They go on the road to Gulfport, West Harrison at home, and then Oak Grove at home. So, yeah, I mean, it's just another brutal start of the schedule. But their district is interesting because, you have Summerall, South Jones, and Brookhaven in there as well. So, that's a pretty tough division, but again, they were able to get second in that region last year because they just started winning games.
Right. We'll see. Well, now you can see why they went 0-6 and they got hot. It's because they're playing ridiculous teams. I mean, Gulfport, man,
they went 4-1 of their district last year.
Yeah,
but so they started 0-6 and won their last 7.
Right. So you are So anyway, so Laurel obviously a team that to watch. And here's the thing that I would address to you that you might not agree with me on, and you didn't mention this in your analysis, is that I had Lanier over Laurel. I put that down. I think that could be interchangeable. I do have Lanier in the top 5 though, because going into what they did last year, I think earned them a spot in the preseason top 5. I think Coach Tommy Kelly's doing a really good job there, but then the players are doing real well also. I interviewed Coach Kelly yesterday as well. Okay, and let me clarify this to everybody on the yesterday thing. You're watching this on Monday evening. We're recording this on Sunday afternoon. So just to be clear with the audience, I keep saying yesterday. It's Saturday. All right, so that's 5A. Now looking over at 6A, and so this is where it gets it gets interesting here as well. All right, look. So at number 5, I've got Terry, and that's my Terry Bulldogs. Now, here's my thing with Terry is that I think you could make an argument that Terry shouldn't be in the preseason top 5, but I also think there's a legitimate argument that they could be. You could put them in the preseason top 5 because of talent that they are bringing in and talent they are keeping. And also another thing about Terry is that they're at that point, and we've talked about this, Dema, they're at that point where they're on that line where they just haven't gotten over this hump of deep playoff run type success. But last year they're 8-3. The year before they're 7-4. The year before they're 7-5. So very solid team and record continuously getting better. But really you're just wanting to get over that hump. And I do think that with adding Trey Collins from Ridgeland, a 3-star going to Mississippi State, adding him in, who's going to end up playing both sides of the ball, playing DB or playing safety as well as playing receiver. I think that's going to be big for them. I got them at number 5, but I think that the Bulldogs, if you make a deep playoff run, now you're past this point, and I think it could happen. They would just have to take care of their region. They got to figure out a way to beat Hattiesburg, which is the key thing. Hattiesburg's a team I'm going to talk about later on. Just a little clue. Number 4, I got Picayune. All right, Picayune's a team, man, where I think they're going to be good because they're bringing back guys. Xavier Dennis was their running back, leading rusher, nearly rushed for 3,000 yards. He's 5'7", 145 pounds, Dema. How in the world do you make it that far? Like, how do you run? How do you make it that far through all that physicality?
I saw him in South State last year play Hattiesburg, and man, he was good.
No, insane. So I got Picayune at number 4. Got South Panola at number 3, Dema.
Uh-oh.
I gotta say, I'm buying in to the South Panola hype this year. I think with another thing too is they've got some transfers that are coming in as well. And then we have to remember this: we act like South Panola was like a miserable failure last year or something. They were not. They were the number 1 seed in the region.
Sure.
They beat Grenada in the regular season.
Right, and happened to lose to Neshoba County in the first
Right.
round.
They just lost to Neshoba in the first round, and it was they barely got beat. It was an upset.
Right.
So South Panola was good last year. They're adding guys and adding a great coach. I got South Panola at number 3. I think they're going to have a chance at the North Half Championship. Number 2, I have Hattiesburg. Okay, so Hattiesburg, they're bringing back a lot. They're losing some guys, but I do have to. Davion Young's the main guy that I'm concerned about them losing. Tristan Keys barely played last year, and really, they would have made it to the state championship game without Tristan Keys on their team, just based on how the season went. I mean, they played multiple big games without him. Like in the regular season, and then in the playoffs they did too. Tristan Keys played in the championship game, but they made it all the way there, and they were just rolling with the team they had. Now Davion Young's a big player that you lose there, but they're bringing back a lot of guys, especially on defense. The defense is going to be ferocious for Hattiesburg, and I think it's going to be tough for teams to deal with. I got Hattiesburg at number 2. And at number 1, I got the defending champs, Warren Central. I think they're loading back up, ready to go again. They're losing some guys, but they're keeping a lot of guys. And the head of the snake is still there, Nash Morgan at quarterback. You got your, coach's son, but also great athlete. And they're the defending champions. So I got to keep it as is until further notice. I got Warren Central at number 1. What you think about that list, Dima?
I like it. Interesting argument for Terry. I liked the argument, but like you said, it kind of just depends on if they can beat Hattiesburg or not. And I think that game's in Hattiesburg this year. But I certainly think they're going to make the playoff. Picayune, I like them. I think they are going to be in line. Obviously, they always are, but they're going to be in severe line to win South State this year. And of course, it's been Hattiesburg Picayune the last 2 years in South State, so why not do it third time's a charm? And then South Panola, I like that. Like you said, everybody talked about how that was just kind of a failure last year. They were the 1 seed, and I think they would have made it to North State Championship game if they would have beaten Neshoba County. I think they would have beaten Ridgeland. I don't think they would have beaten Warren Central, but I think they would have made it to North State. So I like that. Hattiesburg at number 2. I like Hattiesburg. I like Hattiesburg, especially on defense. I like them on defense. But like you said, the offense is a bit concerning to me just because I don't know exactly where the production they got from last year is going to come. So I know that you said Tristan Keys did not play that much, and that is correct. But he still caught for almost 500 yards last year and several touchdowns. So if you combine that with Davion Young stats, who almost caught for 1,300 yards last year, which is insane, that's almost 2,000 yards of their passing offense, which passed for 2,800 yards. So that's just a huge – and, talking to Coach Lacey as I was getting ready for my football preview magazine, he mentioned Kamad Plump, coming along, but he's just going to be a junior this year. He only had 260 yards receiving last year. Bryant as well, the other receiver they had on the outside, only had 400 yards receiving last year. So they're going to be relying on guys who didn't produce a lot. Of course, that's because you're behind Davion Young and Tristan Keys, but there is just some question marks there, and on the running back side, and on the offensive line. They only have 1 returning starter back on the offensive line, so there's certainly some questions for Hattiesburg. But there's still, at the end of the day, they've still won the South State 2 times in a row, and until somebody beats them, they have to be kind of the favorite to come out of the South. But again, their schedule. One thing I like about Hattiesburg always is their schedule just seems to fall pretty nice for them, and they host Petal to start the season, which should be a dandy. And then they play Laurel, which should be interesting because, like you said, Laurel's improved, but then you go to Oak Grove, then you go to Biloxi. So they played, 2 big schools there, but then they get the district games after that, and that's, the West Jones, the Terry, the George County, all those schools. So I like what Hattiesburg brings back, and we'll see what happens with Kendall Lacey's squad this year. And as far as Warren Central, they're obvious to me the number 1 team. You bring back Nash Morgan, who was just unbelievable in that championship game. It's insane how good he played in that championship game against Hattiesburg. And they're the favorite. They're the defending champion, and they will be that until somebody beats them. And we'll see what happens. So I like the list. I do. I really do.
One team that I would say that I did not include that has a very good argument to be in there is Ridgeland. Okay, because Ridgeland they were in the North State Championship, and we got to say, like, not only were they in it, they lost to the eventual champions Warren Central 45-41, and it came down to running out of time on their possession. They're in Warren Central territory. So, but here's the thing with Ridgeland. They lose a couple of guys leaving. And I mentioned Trey Collins, who's at Terry now. They also lost their head coach, Todd McDaniel. Okay, and the thing is that they bring in Bernard Ewell as their coach, who is a highly accomplished coach coming from Velma Jackson and took them deep into the playoffs for years and all these kind of things. However, you have the same team. If you have like a team and you change coaches, a lot of times there is a little bit of a shift there. There's a little bit of, okay, all right, we're finding our footing with our new coach. I think Bernard Ewell's going to end up being a real success with Ridgeland. Do I think he takes over now and they immediately just increase on the success that they had? I don't know. And we'll see, but they're definitely a team that is knocking on the door of a top 5 team. Another team is Grenada. I think Grenada is starting to be just like slept on to the next level. I think Brooks Oakley, who just went from South Panola to Grenada, I think he's a really good coach. But the problem, though, with Grenada that makes me not think they're a top 5 team is how many guys they're losing. They're losing a lot of guys. Guys transferring out with Coach Fair's exit. So there's that as well. But another team, 6A's got a lot of teams that are they've got a lot of teams that are interested. West Jones. With Scott Pearson coming back as their coach. He coached for 21 years, I do believe, until 2023, and that's when Corey Reynolds took over and had that 14-0 season championship year. Corey Reynolds steps down. Scott Pearson back in as head coach. Man, look, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, West Jones, and they bring back their quarterback and wide receiver are seniors, and they've been playing for 4 years. They were on the state championship team. And now they're seniors. That's Tootie Lindsay and then Chandler Watson, I do believe his name is. Both those guys, that connection is going to still be there. You know, West Jones, you know, I'm sitting there talking about West Jones is probably a top 5 team. Don't you think about that?
Yeah, they might be. And when you look at their schedule, you know, they host Hattiesburg, which that's always good. Another team you could throw in there is Pascagoula. You know, we haven't even mentioned them. You know, they probably battled Hattiesburg closer than anybody else did in the South before Warren Central eventually beat them, and they were at Hattiesburg. There was a 35-20 finish in that game. So, I mean, there's just a lot of teams in 6A that could all make a run. And as we saw last year, sometimes it's all about just getting hot at the right time. And that's what Hattiesburg did and Warren Central did. And, you know, a lot of these teams with the talent that they have can all do that.
Right. And Pascagoula, that's a real good point. They did change coaches, and they also lost a lot of players. So that's the reason why I'm just kind of like, I don't know with Pascagoula, but that would be interesting. All right, before we get out of here, Dima, we got to talk about the highest classification. We're going through 7A. Okay, so 7A. All right, this is my list for 7A. Number 5, I got Madison Central. They lost in the first round last year to Horn Lake. Not happy with that. I've talked to Coach Toby Collins. That's on the network as well. Talked to him. He's excited about this team. He's got Trip Smith as his quarterback, bringing him back. He's just got a lot of talent that they're bringing back to that team. They were a young team last year. They were still able to get a 3 seed in the playoffs. Still, you know, in a region that's super hard. I mean, that region is super hard. That's the one that has Oxford, Starkville, Germantown, Madison Central, Clinton. Yeah. So, tough region. Now, I got them at number 5. Number 4, I've got Oxford. Oxford is supposed to be really good this year, but they did, like, their quarterback situation's interesting. They've got a guy that's supposed to be pretty good. However, he was not the quarterback last year. Last year, they had 2 different quarterbacks. They had Drew Dean, who's now at Tupelo. And then they had Knox Kiffin, of course, who's obviously does not live in Oxford anymore. So Oxford, So Oxford is, but they're a good team, bringing a lot back. I got them at number 4. Number 3, I've got Oak Grove, Dima. We talked about them a little bit last episode. They're loaded. They're loaded with guys. You probably think I have them too low, I'm sure. But Oak Grove, I've got them at number 3. They're a really good team. They've got a really good quarterback in Kellen Hall. Defense, going to be stout. Offense going to be good too. I got Oak Grove at number 3. Number 2, I got Brandon. Brandon made South State last year. They made the South State championship. They even beat Oak Grove on the road barely, but they beat them on the road. And they had a coach that transformed the team in the middle of the season, Coach Eugene Clinton, and they're keeping him. So obviously the players bought into him last year. So proof's in the pudding on that one. Then you add 2, I think 3-star, 4-star players from Jackson Prep that are transferring in. And I think they got another guy transferring in addition to keeping their quarterback, Sladen Shack, as well as Tyson Robinson, who's going to Michigan as your starting running back, who got hurt last year, which is a part of the reason why they weren't performing as well, even with Lance Pogue. Brandon just looks, they look stacked to me, so I got them at number 2. Number 1, I got Tupelo, though, man. Tupelo, they just have so much talent, man. They have so much talent. I was able to talk to their coach as well, Ty Harden. That's on the network as well already. And Tupelo, man, their facilities are incredible, Dima. When I went out there, dude, it was ridiculous. And so it's ridiculous, man. Like, I had to go check into some visitor center. They had to give me listen, man, there's no walking on that. Coach Harden said it was like going to Fort Knox, going to work every day at Tupelo High School. But I tell you, it's I got Tupelo number 1. I can't really go away from it. So that's my top 5. What you think about that, Dima?
Yeah, in 7-8, I think there's about 4 or 5 schools who could all win it. You kind of mentioned it, and you knew I probably was going to say this, but I just think Oak Grove is number 1 for me. Yeah, I think I'd have them over Tupelo. I mean, when you think about how much returning players they have 15 returning starters. I mean, 8 on offense and 7 on defense, I believe. 8 on offense and 7 on defense. Obviously, you're starting with Kellen Hall with 2,700 yards and 34 touchdowns. He has his 2 top receivers back and their starting running back behind an offensive line that returns 4 of the 5 starters. And then on defense, it all starts with Devin Robinson, who's committed to Georgia. And he's really good. And anytime you can have he's committed to Oklahoma. One of their offensive linemen is committed to Georgia. Devin Robertson is committed to Oklahoma. You have star talent all around that defense for Oak Grove and a really good quarterback. I like Brandon. I like Tupelo. I think they're both interchangeable. The game that I'm looking forward to the most probably this year in 7-8 is Oak Grove at Brandon. It's in the middle of October. That game will probably be that's going to be one of the biggest games of the regular season games of the year. Probably a preview of South State, if I had to guess. That'll be a big game. I like Oxford and Madison Central. They're always going to have talent, but I think the top 3, Brandon, Oak Grove, and Tupelo, are probably one of those 3 teams are probably going to win state.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, okay, so here's the thing. I got 4 teams outside of my top 5 that I have to mention because 7A is really competitive. Yeah. And Gulfport.
Right. I was about to say them.
I mean, Gulfport, the defending champions, and I just left them off the top 5. Yeah, but they're losing a lot, though. They are losing a lot. They're reloading. They're going to be really good, but they're losing a lot. And, listen, I think they also got a little lightning in a bottle with a Hail Mary touchdown to win the championship. I still think Tupelo overall was the better team last year, but they won the championships, and that's what matters. That's what you're going for. I do have them outside the top 5, but they're a team to mention. Another team to mention, Ocean Springs. Man, Ocean Springs is supposed to come in real loaded. The thing about Ocean Springs, man, is that they just have a tough time making it happen when they need to make it happen. Yep. And Brandon is their kryptonite. And if you have a tough time beating Brandon in the past, this might be a tough year to try to beat Brandon this year. But Ocean Springs, very good team, very good coach Jake Bramlett down there. Starkville.
Yeah.
Starkville.
Huge blockbuster game, Starkville at Oak Grove this year.
Oh, yeah. No, it'll be good. I definitely am going to have Oak Grove winning that. But at the same time, Starkville, good team. They're going to have to figure out their offense, though. I'm hearing that they might be making some changes with Brett Morgan as their coach, who was the West Point coach, being there. And, they were run. They've got a quarterback in Kingston Johnson who can run and throw, and he's kind of small.
Yes.
So we'll see about that. And then finally, Clinton. Clinton is a dark horse. I don't think they have really a shot at winning the championship, but I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be a really good team and a tough game for anybody who plays them as well. So, but anyway, listen, top fives today. We did that, Dima. But again, it's just preseason, man. And if you're a player in Mississippi, man, everybody is 0-0. It doesn't. These rankings don't matter. You got to hit that field, hit that gridiron, and play you some football. So we're looking forward to seeing that this upcoming year. Picked It Clean podcast, Mondays and Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. It is brought to you as Dima Mixon. I'm Trellis Williams. Dima, any final thoughts before we get on out?
No, I mean, anytime you talk about top fives for me in any classifications, it's just it just gets me excited and ready to see some of these games that we're going to be able to watch this year. There's good teams all across every class, and there's always going to be surprises, and so I'm excited. We're only a week away. I mean, season starts. There's jamborees happening this week, actual high school football happening this week, but the next week, is week 1, so we're right there.
Right, absolutely, and we're going to get more into it on Thursday. We're going to keep talking about it. This is the Picked It Clean podcast. Got to check it out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Also, a bunch of interviews coming out right now. I mean, we've got so many people that we've talked to. This is your place for high school sports coverage, man. You got to check it out. TSM Network YouTube channel. Follow us on the Picked It Clean podcast on Facebook as well. That's Dima Mixon alongside myself, Trellis Williams, and until next time, we out.